Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game!
Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to this special Tuesday night edition of The Game. My name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from the studios of Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. On this special edition of The Game, we'll be joined by E.J. Russell, our contributor and good friend, who normally joins us on Monday nights, but because of his work schedule and vacation schedule over the past couple weeks, EJ has not been able to be with us, so we figured, hey, why not make a special edition Tuesday night on The Game? And you can find all of our broadcasts on the podcast page of The Game at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Tomorrow night, we'll have Dave McKeag from Soo, Ontario for his The Game Sports Show from Sports Center Bar and Grill. We'll also have a broadcast on Thursday night. Dave McKeag and crew will be at Boston Pizza in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. We also put broadcasts of Butch on Sports, The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg with Paul Van Wagner and other assorted sports material. But before we get to EJ, let's recap Monday night in sports and in local sports. Well, it was the Soo Greyhounds. In their Game 3 at Kitchener, the Hounds led that series 2-0, the Ontario Hockey League's Western Conference Final, and it was all Kitchener last night as Soo, Ontario native Mario Colina made 24 saves as the Soo Greyhounds were shut out for the first time all season long Monday night as Kitchener topped the Soo Greyhounds by the score of 3-0. The Sioux still up 2-1 in that best-of-7 series with Game 4 Wednesday night in Kitchener. And that assures us that there will be a Game 5, which will be played Friday night at the SR Center. So pressure, I wouldn't say, is on the Hounds for Wednesday night, but they'd make their lives a lot easier if they can get a road victory and hopefully get home with a 3-1 lead on Friday night with a chance to clinch the series. But they have their work cut out for them. Kitchener, a very good team. And so the Hounds, they're going to have to score some goals, obviously, tomorrow night in their game against the Kitchener Rangers. Other game going on tonight in the OHL, the Hamilton Bulldogs are up 3-0 in their best-of-7 Eastern Conference Final against the Kingston Frontenacs. Game 4 happening tonight in Kingston. There were a couple local sports notes from this past weekend. We did get some information on a couple spring sports which happened downstate. Alma. We talked about the Soo High Blue Devil baseball team last night on The Game with Dave McKeag and Butch Davis. They lost their first 2 games in Alma, or the softball team also lost their first 2 games in Alma. The Soo High Blue Devils dropped a pair of games this past Saturday, losing to Alma 11-1 and 13-0. Lauren LaJoy had a hit and scored a run in the opener. She also had a pair of hits in the nightcap for the Soo High Blue Devils. And the snow is melting. The fields still have snow on them here in Sault Ste. Marie and other areas. So we're probably at least a week away from getting some local games played in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. Weather is supposed to get a little bit cooler, but not a lot of precipitation. So hopefully that snow will melt so we can get to some spring sports here in the EUP. Soo High girls soccer was also at Alma over this past weekend, and they go 1-1-1. The Blue Devils played to a 1-1 draw Saturday in their opener against Bangor John Glenn, lost 3-0 to Alma, and finished the day with a 2-1 win over Tawas. Kayla Wilhelms scored all 3 goals for the Blue Devils. Now, Soo High is slated to be at Alpena on Wednesday, weather permitting, and will be at Traverse City Central on Saturday. Game 6 of the of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League Finals happening here in a matter of minutes as the Rayside Balfour Canadians trail the Cochrane Crunch by 3-2 count, with Game 6 headed to Cochrane tonight, a Crunch win, and they will advance to the Dudley Hewitt Cup, a Rayside win, and they'll extend the series to a Game 7, which would be played at Rayside on Thursday. In news here locally, Soo High head coach John Ferroni announced today that he is stepping down after 7 seasons leading the Soo High Blue Devil hockey team. Was announced as Ferroni led the Blue Devils to a 132-57-9 record during his 7 seasons. They also finished state runners-up twice, winning 4 regional titles and achieving academic all-state honors 6 of the 7 years during Coach Ferroni's tenure. The Blue Devils were 27-1 this past season, and they lost in overtime in the regional finals. John Ferroni, to me, one of the best coaches around. He will be missed, no question, by Soo High hockey fans and the school in general. And let's hope that they do a thorough search as far as the next candidate, because they're going to have some pretty heavy shoes to fill. Coach Ferroni, not just a great coach, but a great guy, frequent guest on our show. Anytime we asked him to come on, he would without a hesitation. And so the Game Sports Show, myself personally, wishes Coach Ferroni the best in his future endeavors. And Soo High hockey is definitely in a good place as he exits the scene. NBA playoffs going on tonight. Right now, Milwaukee and Boston tangling. Later on, Philadelphia and Miami, Golden State and San Antonio. Last night, a pair of games in the NBA playoffs saw 2 Western Conference teams go up 3-1 in their series. The Houston Rockets scored 50 points in the third quarter en route to their 119-100 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 4. James Harden had 36 points for the Rockets, including 22 in the third quarter, so Houston will look to clinch the series in Game 5 at home. And the Utah Jazz up 3-1 in their series against Oklahoma City, as Donovan Mitchell scored 33 points to lead the Jazz to a 113-96 win. And Utah hopes to close out the series in Oklahoma City in Game 5. And in the NHL last night, 2 games. Washington down 0-2 in their series against Columbus, ended up winning 4 straight, including Monday night's series clinching 6-3 win in Game 6 over the Columbus Blue Jackets, as Alex Ovechkin scores twice on Monday night. And the Caps will take on 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh in the next round. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, Dave McKegg, cut short his appearance on the game for good reason, as he wanted to go watch the game. And boy, it was a wild atmosphere at the Air Canada Centre. Of course, a lot of people with heavy hearts after that tragedy in Toronto, which killed 10 by that driver that plowed into a bunch of pedestrians. The crowd was subdued for a moment and then really got into the game. And the Maple Leafs extend the series to 7 against the Boston Bruins as they won Game 6 Monday night by the score of 3-1. Frederick Anderson stopped 32 shots for the Maple Leafs, while William Nylander and Thomas Plotnick scored for the Leafs. So the Toronto Maple Leafs, who once trailed 3-1 in the series, they will take on Boston in Game 7 on Wednesday, with the winner taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the next round. The West, we talked about it last night, is set. Vegas will take on San Jose, and you have Winnipeg taking on Nashville, and I think the best series in the next round, and possibly the best series in all the playoffs. We'll talk more about those series. We'll talk more about the NBA and NFL draft coming up with our good friend, E.J. Russell on the Team Wireless Hot Seat. That's coming up next on The Game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Thank you for tuning in to The Game, heard Monday nights from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on Eagle 95.1, also online at radioeaglesioux.com and the podcast page, The Game Sports Show. .podbean.com. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Now, if you want to hear more of the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national talk show, I encourage you to visit our website at thegamesportshow.com, and you can tune into a pair of broadcasts of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. Our co-host here on The Game, Mr. Electric Avenue Dave McKegg, broadcasts the show on Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault, Ontario, along with his regular contributors, Jamie Antonello, Justin Heichel, and Dane Hantro. They focus on football with their In the Pocket segment, talking about the NFL, along with basketball and the NBA, and other sports, including tennis, golf, soccer, and the WWE. If you like hockey, Thursday nights are for you, as the Game Sports Show is broadcasting from Boston Pizza in Sault, Ontario, with Dave McKegg, along with his regular contributors, Justin Heichel and Dane Hantro. Now, this show focuses on hockey in the wintertime and baseball in the summer, and will include guests and interviews from local and national figures. Once again, you can hear 3 versions of the game at our website, thegamesportshow.com, or at the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Also on the podcast page, you will find selected audio broadcasts of Sioux Eagles home games, Brimley Bay's basketball, and Sioux High Blue Devil hockey, along with game contributor Butch Davis and his broadcasts of Butch on Sports. You can also find us on YouTube. Look for the Scott Nason channel. Thank you for listening, and keep it locked here to The Game for all your local, regional, and national sports talk that you just can't get enough of.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the 2nd year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm naan bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Saturday I took a walk to Zipperhead. I met a girl there, it's yawn, there's nothing dead. Punk rock girl, please look at me. What do you see? Let's travel around the world, just you and me, punk rock girl.
Welcome back to The Game on Eagle 95.1, this special Tuesday night edition. Scott Nason broadcasting from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and we're joined by our contributor from the Escanaba area. He's originally from Ohio. EJ Russell joining us on the Team Wireless Hot Seat tonight after a very warm week of vacation last week. EJ, glad to have you back on. How you doing, sir?
Well, I don't know if warm was the best word to describe it, but it was a vacation. Went down to visit some friends downstate. I think they got it worse than we did up here, but happy to be back working, and, of course, happy to be talking to you as always.
We're happy to have you back on, EJ. We wanted to have a special edition just so we could get you on again this week. And, well, we got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the NBA playoffs. A couple games going on right now as we are recording on Tuesday night. A couple series that are, well, close, at least in one case. The Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks are currently playing in Game 5 in Boston. Right now, Boston's up by 10 in the third quarter. That series is tied at 2, and Philadelphia leading their series 3-1 over Miami. They have an early 2-point lead at the end of the first quarter. EJ, let's start with the East, more specifically the series that I know you are watching very closely. We talked last night with Dave McKegg about the Toronto series against Washington, so we can cover that a little bit, but I want your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers and Indiana Pacers. A very close series right now. That series tied at 2 after Cleveland's 4-point win on Sunday in Indiana. Game 5 will be in Cleveland tomorrow night. Your thoughts on that series and just the East in general right now in this first round of the playoffs, which I think has been a lot more competitive than we've seen in past years. I think it's been a pretty good first round so far in the playoff series.
Oh, it's been good for a lot of teams, especially the Indiana Pacers, who made some interesting moves this year, getting rid of Paul George, bringing in Victor Oladipo. And that really has worked out quite nicely for them. He's been their primary scorer throughout the year, and just a great addition for them. Also bringing back Lance Stevenson. And there's a guy that you just love to hate. And I don't think that I've ever seen somebody possibly getting into LeBron James' head any better than he has been doing it. Lance Stevenson is just an agitator, and he plays his role of the villain so incredibly well. I mean, you got LeBron James out there having 40-point nights, and the Cavaliers are barely hanging on to win. He's getting in his head, or what looks like he may be getting in his head. I think that LeBron is a great enough basketball player that he should be able to get through this. My concerns are the role players for the Cleveland Cavaliers have not been fulfilling their roles. Guys like J.R. Smith are producing, but not as consistently as we want. Kevin Love playing with a torn thumb. I mean, the Cavaliers just don't look like they're built for the long haul in this playoffs. This Philadelphia 76ers, they have been quite the pleasant surprise. Not that they aren't a good basketball team, but they're looking so ready beyond their years. And that's a great sign for them. Joel Embiid coming out earlier this week stating that he doesn't think that they need anybody. And that shows you that the team has confidence in themselves right now. And when you get young guys like that, like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, that are confident in what they're doing, the sky's the limit, especially with the amount of talent that those two players have. I don't see them losing that series. I think that they're, a year or two ahead of schedule here. But the Sixers have been a fun team to watch. Concerns about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics missing their two superstars, Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, and still competing in the East. Just imagine when they get them back next year, how good that team can be. I still see the Cleveland Cavaliers making it out of their series, but I think the Philadelphia 76ers are really showing that they're contenders in the East.
I agree with you, EJ, especially on Philadelphia. And you look at a team that's had a lot of draft picks over the last few years and a lot of high ones. And I agree. I think they are a year or two ahead of schedule. I mean, they're more than likely going to beat Miami, but, maybe they don't know any better, and, you get deeper into the playoffs. Do I think Cleveland's going to beat Indiana? I do. I think winning that Game 4 really was the key for Cleveland. Obviously, they didn't want to go down 3-1, but I would expect them to win that series. I still think Toronto is going to get through Washington, but that ain't going to be easy. That one could go a full 7 games, and Boston, Milwaukee, I think the Celtics will edge out. And, you look at those 4 teams, and Cleveland you would think would be the favorite, but, Philadelphia just lying in the weeds a little bit. A team that is young, Ben Simmons, I mean, he has the first triple-double by a rookie, I think, since Magic Johnson back in 1980 or 81. And this is a team, maybe they don't know any better. Maybe they're just, who knows? I mean, do they have what it takes to get to the NBA Finals, you think?
I think that they do. And one of the main reasons that they have the opportunity to succeed as well as they do this year is a veteran addition that they added in J.J. Redick. It's a guy that's been around for a while, has been on successful basketball teams, and adds that three-point game to what Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can do. As long as he can keep the young guys' minds right and help them develop as young superstars, the sky's the limit for the 76ers team. I mean, it really is. If they play with confidence, and being a sports guy, confidence is key. And if you're playing with that amount of confidence that they are right now, so much to the fact that you're going to allude to the fact that you don't need to add LeBron James, they can do anything.
And you look out west, EJ, a couple series probably are in the bag. Well, we know one is definitely in the bag. New Orleans sweeps Portland, a 6-3. You have Utah up 3-1 on Oklahoma City, a 5-4. And then you have Golden State, the number 2 seed, I should say. They're leading San Antonio 3-1, Game 5 tonight. You would expect Golden State probably to win that. And then in the other series, Houston and Minnesota. Houston up 3-1 after winning last night, scoring 50 points in the third quarter. You would expect Houston to win. But, you look at the New Orleans 6-3. You look at potentially a 5-4. Remember, in the West, number 3 and number 8 were not separated by many games. So it's not as much as an upset, I think, New Orleans over Portland. It was a matter of how they dispensed the Blazers in 4 games. And what do you say about Anthony Davis? I mean, this guy is having a monster playoff as New Orleans will likely take on, I believe, Golden State in the next round. What are your thoughts about the West, EJ?
Well, I would like to take a half second to say that it's very unfortunate to hear about the news of Greg Popovich's wife passing.
Yes.
And I was very pleased to see that the Spurs did come up fighting and won a game for their coach. And that shows how much class that organization really has. Veteran leadership with a guy like Manu Ginobili has been with the guy like that's been with Popovich for such a long time. I think that they knew what they wanted to do in that game, and they came out fighting for their coach. With Kawhi Leonard out, though, I don't see them getting past Golden State. Anthony Davis, holy cow, what a player! 40-point games like it's nothing. And it's like he sneezes up a 40-point game. And he's such a key to their success. When you have a guy with as much length as he does that can step out on the perimeter and shoot threes and distribute the basketball, play great defense, and then you add a guy like Drew Holiday who happens to throw up a 40-point game the other night as well. New Orleans is so close to being right there, and people forget they have Rajon Rondo, who is a great distributor and a great mind for the game. He's had difficulties in his career finding a team that he can gel with properly, but such a great basketball mind, and you add him with the young talent that is Anthony Davis. I mean, he's been in the league a few years now, but, I mean, they can really do anything. I think Golden State is still the class of the West. The one team that I have an asterisk next to right now is the Houston Rockets, because in the past, James Harden in meaningful games has not shown up. And the other day, he had a really, really rough first quarter. Is he going to bounce back? Is he going to be able to be the kind of player that people thought that he was in the regular season, that MVP caliber type of player? And if he doesn't bounce back and start performing in the playoffs, that's going to mark him for the rest of his career, and that's something that he's going to have to answer to. The Utah Jazz playing great basketball. Mitchell is quite the rookie, another candidate for Rookie of the Year, right up there with Ben Simmons. I loved seeing Mitt Romney at the game, talking a little bit of trash. But the West, I don't think, is as exciting as the East right now, just because I think that really the Philadelphia 76ers are the team that everybody needs to be talking about. And in the West, the team that's surprising me is definitely the New Orleans Pelicans, coming out, playing big games, and not allowing Damian Lillard to get loose and beat them with his three-point shot.
EJ Russell joining us on the Team Wireless Hot Seat on the special Tuesday night edition of the game, a mini roundtable edition. EJ, let's move on to the NHL. We talked a lot last night about the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins. Our good friend Dave McKeag was a little nervous, but the Toronto Maple Leafs do win last night by the score of 3-1. They're going to be in a Game 7 against Boston Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, the winner will take on Tampa Bay, and the other Eastern semifinal is set. The Columbus Blue Jackets, boy oh boy, it really looked like that they were going to spring the upset on the Washington Capitals, winning the first two games in overtime in Washington, but the Capitals win 4 straight, including a 6-3 win last night in Columbus. But I think a lot of good things are ahead for this Columbus team. Your thoughts on the East and specifically the Columbus Blue Jackets? I know a team that's near and dear to you.
Well, the Columbus Blue Jackets are most definitely heading in the right direction. Second year under coach John Tortorella, really doing a lot of positive things and growing as a franchise. People need to remember with the Blue Jackets that they are newer to the playoffs. They've only been in it a couple times. The first 2 times they were in, losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly.
Correct.
I know that, yeah. But they're really growing as a franchise, a lot of young talent. They're going to continue to do well. But for me, I think the bigger story there is Washington not choking. And Alexander Ovechkin and that team showing up late in games, including overtime, and really, finishing off a series the way that team's designed to finish off a series. They're going to be going into the next round with confidence. And when you get a player like Alexander Ovechkin, who in my opinion is the best pure goal scorer I've ever seen in my entire life, when he's confident, watch out, because he's going to let it fly every chance he gets, and that's what he's known to do his entire career. And when you shoot with confidence and you play with that confidence, which seems to be the theme of my opinions tonight, the guy's going to be deadly, and watch out. And he's a great leader for his organization. The Philadelphia-Pittsburgh series has been quite interesting. I didn't think that Philadelphia would come out as hard as they have and given Pittsburgh as much of a challenge as they have. Of course, rooting for Pittsburgh in that series. But just a lot of good things happening in the East right now. Tampa Bay locking that up. Boston, Toronto, what a great series that's been. I will say I can't ever root for a team from Boston.
Right.
So I'm rooting for the Maple Leafs there. And again, there's another team that, just like the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA, is ahead of schedule. And they're going to be contenders for quite some time. They're really showing up. I think that Toronto's going to be ready to go. And that team's going to – I hope that they show up, because I think that they can give the Boston Bruins a run for their money. Bruins getting a little bit older as a team. Toronto needs to use their speed, use their skill, and take down the Boston Bruins. Don't get into the kind of game that Todd Marchand wants to play. Don't let him get in your head. Don't get chippy. Play your game, stay consistent, use your skill and your speed, and they're going to walk home with the series.
And EJ, I know you are near and dear to the teams in the East with Pittsburgh and Columbus. Dave, of course, with Toronto. Myself, I don't have a horse in the race, and I got to say, I've really enjoyed the Western playoffs. My favorite series of the first round was Minnesota-Winnipeg. I just like this Winnipeg team. They were my pick to win the Stanley Cup, along with Tampa, to get there. And I think potentially the best series in the entire playoffs could be coming up here in the West between Nashville and Winnipeg. I mean, that is just going to have a lot of different intangibles in that one. And, well, speaking of intangibles, how can you not like the Vegas Golden Knights sweeping the L.A. Kings? And they're going to take on the San Jose Sharks. So, you look at the West, I'm not real interested in San Jose, but the Vegas story, and then Winnipeg-Nashville. I just think that series just has the potential to be something special. And who would ever thought that you would say a Winnipeg-Nashville series would be pretty exciting? But this Winnipeg team, they're a fun team to watch. They're coached by Craig Hartsburg. Of course, Paul Maurice, getting my Sioux, Ontario coaches mixed up. Of course, a guest on Dave's show earlier this year, Sioux, Ontario native. So your thoughts on the West, EJ?
I have such a hard time rooting for Vegas. I was very against that franchise going there. As far as looking at the Vegas Golden Knights making it to the playoffs in their first years in expansion. I mean, it's a great historically relevant story as far as the NHL's history is concerned, and I'm happy that that storyline is peeking through the playoffs here, because it's getting a lot of people that may not normally be paying attention to the playoffs. Some people are watching just to see what they do. I really like Nashville over Winnipeg in that series. I didn't get a chance to watch Winnipeg much this year. However, I like what Nashville's doing. They got players like PK Subban, Ryan Johansson, and they play their game well, and they can play so many different styles and still come out and beat you. And when you get the kind of production that you can get from them that they have on the blue line, they're a dangerous team, because PK Subban, if he winds up and rips it, he can put that puck in the back of the net whenever he wants, and that adds a layer to their game that some teams don't have. When you have defensemen that can score as well as he has the ability to, it makes it very, very tough to go against them. It makes the power play very, very easy for a team like that. It's just the West I haven't watched too much, just because the East has the majority of my attention with the two teams that are near and dear to me being there. San Jose, if they're going to win a Stanley Cup, they got to go now. They got to beat Vegas, and they have to perform, because if they don't this year, I don't see them getting back to this point next season.
EJ, let's move on to Major League Baseball. With so many other things going on, sometimes Major League Baseball kind of gets lost in the shuffle here in April and early May, but obviously you, a Cleveland Indians fan, not doing well tonight. They're getting trounced by the Cubs 10-2, that one in the ninth inning. But right now, Cleveland on top of probably, you could say, a pretty weak AL Central. 2.5 games ahead of Minnesota. We talked with Butch last night about the Tigers not doing as bad as maybe some people thought they would, except when they play Cleveland. Your thoughts on the early season in Major League Baseball? I mean, you look around the American League, Boston is off to a great start at 17-4. You have Houston and the LA Angels on top in the AL West. The Mets are off to a good start. Arizona 15-6. But just early thoughts on Major League Baseball.
I think everything's really playing out exactly how a lot of people thought it would. The New York Yankees not having as much success with adding Giancarlo Stanton as I thought they would have. This is the first time that two guys that led the league in home runs have been on the same team since Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, who happened to also wear the pinstripes. So the expectations for the Yankees are very, very high. Boston, not surprised to see them on top of the division there, but more surprised to see them only having 4 losses at this point. Playing great team baseball, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. They got a lot of speed, a lot of great talent there. Dodgers in the West, barely over 500 at 11-10. Have some concerns there. Are they going to get the kind of production out of their starting pitching that they have in the past? You look at a team like the Washington Nationals at 10-13. No, I don't think a lot of people had them down as low as they are right now in the division. But I think the story in Major League Baseball this year, to anybody who has been paying attention to this particular player, is Shohei Ohtani for the LA Angels. Really is quite the talent.
Living up to the hype, isn't he?
I mean, just insane. And the way he swings the bat with as much power that he can get. I mean, when you watch him swing, it doesn't look like he's the kind of guy that's going to crack a bunch of home runs, but he keeps putting the ball over the fence. What did he have? 3 home runs in his first 5 games. I mean, that's insane. And then he goes out and pitches. He's the Japanese Babe Ruth. I mean, look out for this guy. He's going to be around the league for a long time. And to have as much success as he is this quickly in his career, pairing him up with a guy like Mike Trout on that team and Albert Pujols, the kind of players that are there, the Los Angeles Angels, when they figure out their lineup, are probably going to be the most dangerous team in baseball outside of the Boston Red Sox.
EJ, let's move on to at least the final topic I want to bring up, and it's the NFL Draft. And with the first pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select, well, we're not quite sure right now, as Cleveland will have the first and 4th pick in this year's NFL Draft. The Detroit Lions will have the 20th. EJ, I want your thoughts on the NFL Draft, specifically who you see Cleveland taking, potentially getting a quarterback and a good running back. Are they going defensive end, Bradley Chubb, NC State maybe with that 4th pick, Sam Darnold, USC, Josh Allen? I mean, who knows? Maybe a Saquon Barkley. Your thoughts on the NFL Draft coming up here in a couple nights?
I think that the Browns they're going to go quarterback at number 1. They have to address that need and get their quarterback of the future. Everything that I've heard, talking to people that I know as well as reading articles, it is now between Darnold and Allen. I think that they want to lean towards Allen because he's a guy playing for Wyoming, probably a little more used to cold weather, but also kind of used to being an underdog type of player, which is somebody that we need. The only concern that I have there is his completion percentage was below 60%. I think that the Browns are trying too hard, or if they pick him, maybe trying too hard to make up for not drafting Carson Wentz. I'm looking for a player with similar attributes and history as Carson Wentz. I hope that doesn't end up being a mistake. I'm confident that it's between Darnold and Allen for the number 1 pick. I don't really like USC quarterbacks. The last good USC quarterback in the league is Carson Palmer. And, I mean, you look at guys like Matt Leinart, Matt Barkley, and some of the other guys that have come out of there and tried to play in the NFL, they haven't had a lot of success. So I have concerns with either one of those two. Baker Mayfield is not out of the question, though. The only issue with him that I have, if the Cleveland Browns are interested there, is he mature enough? Is he going to be able to handle the spotlight? Having gotten an arrest in some of his, I'll say, inappropriate gestures with the talent that the Browns have, specifically with a guy named Josh Gordon, who has struggled to maintain his own discipline in his personal life for the majority of his NFL career. I don't know if bringing in a young quarterback that has that much edge is going to be the best thing for him. I think that the safer play is to go with Darnold or Allen. I don't see them taking Barkley at number 1. I just don't think they want to take a running back first overall. I think that's too high there. But the story of the first round has to be the New York Giants. And they control the way that the rest of this draft is going to go. Because can they take a quarterback if they really, really want one? Absolutely. It would be great for them if they like one of these quarterbacks. They can go ahead and take a guy, have him learn behind Eli Manning, and they can set up themselves for the future. I do see them taking Saquon Barkley if they make their pick at number 2, because I think that would be a nice young guy to add to their roster to pair up with Odell Beckham Jr. if they do maintain him on the roster. But don't be surprised to see one of those teams, either the Denver Broncos or the New York Giants, be willing to trade that pick to the Buffalo Bills. Okay? If Buffalo trades up to the 2 spot, I think that the only reason they're doing that is because the Browns have selected Sam Darnold. They're going to go after Josh Allen. So I think that New York really controls how the first 5 picks are going to go, but I think Buffalo, as they've been moving up in the draft throughout this year, they're eyeing Josh Allen. That's the guy that I believe that they want. Again, for the similar reasons that the Browns do, being cold weather quarterback. He's got a cannon for an arm and can really just flick the ball a mile, kind of like Aaron Rodgers does. If the Browns don't have Saquon Barkley available, if the Giants do take him, I see them going with Chubb with the number 4 pick. Jets are going quarterback for sure. They're going to go with whoever their guy is or best available quarterback left, whoever is best on their board. They need to address their quarterback issues as well. I'm excited for the draft. You know, being a Browns fan, this is my Super Bowl. We don't win games, but we might be able to win this draft. So Browns are still entertaining. Talks for their draft picks. I really hope that they don't, because this is going to be a good chance for them to add good young talent to their lineup that is still quite young. If they do go with Chubb with the number 4 pick, I think that that's a great move. Pair him up with another great player, Myles Garrett, and you're going to make the Browns defense very, very good very quickly and possibly get your quarterback of the future. But New York Giants are the question there, and the Buffalo Bills, where do they trade up to? Because I don't think that the Buffalo Bills are not going to be in the top 5 picks.
AJ, I really can't argue with almost anything you said there at all. Before we get to your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, EJ, is there anything else you wanted to bring up on tonight's roundtable?
I don't have much to say. I've been busy trying to get my fishing game going. So just happy to be back, Scott, and I appreciate you doing this special segment with me. And we'll talk again next week.
How's the fishing going there? Obviously with the weather and such. Any good fishing in your area?
Well, I went out Sunday, went fishing in my new kayak, filmed some videos from my GoPro, so I'll do a little self-plug here. Got a YouTube channel started up, nothing great on there yet. But
what is it? Tell us where we can find it.
On YouTube, if you search Big Russ Fishing, I have it on there. Be happy to share the link if anybody wants to take a peek at it. You can find me on there. Also on Instagram as Big Russ Fishing. Big Russ is a nickname of mine that I got back in the military. But if you go to my Instagram, Big Russ Fishing, you can find the link to my YouTube page on there. But no fish were caught this weekend. Just really took it as an opportunity to get out there, test the waters, try out the new kayak, and have some fun making a few videos with my new GoPros.
I was just happy to get outside. I don't know about you, EJ.
Oh, I went out in the morning. It was beautiful. The water was like glass. The only problem is that it was 36 degrees, so I got done at about 11, came home, got a fresh change of clothes on, grabbed some lunch, and headed back out for the afternoon. But unfortunately, no fish were caught in the making of these films.
Very good. EJ Russell joining us on the Team Wireless Hot Seat. EJ, thanks for joining us on this special edition. We'll be talking to you either next Monday night or who knows, maybe we'll do another special edition. We always love having you on, and thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your week, sir.
Yeah, always happy to be here.
And that's going to do it here for this special edition of the game. Don't forget, tomorrow night we'll have Dave McKeag from Sports Center Bar and Grill. Thursday night we'll have him from Boston Pizza. And we will be back Monday at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.
See ya!
Thanks for tuning into the game on Eagle 95.1. Tune in every Monday night at 6 for local sports talk on The Game from the Wicked Sister on Ashman in downtown Sault Ste. Marie.
Or you can find the link on our Eagle 95.1 Facebook page.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.